The keys on my laptop made a sticky, uneven clack when I typed, like someone trying to pick a lock with a bent paperclip. The new guy, Corey, noticed right away. He leaned over my shoulder on his first day and muttered, "What is this, a museum piece?" loud enough for 3 people around us to laugh. I didn't say anything, I just shifted the laptop slightly so the corner he was eyeballing, the one duct-taped after the hinge cracked, was out of view. It was a Thursday, not that the day mattered much, but I remember because the air smelled like burnt toast from the break room and the office printer was jamming again, its beeping echoing across the cubicles. Everything was annoyingly normal, and I was already tired before the day had even begun. Corey was assigned to my team, fresh out of grad school, big tech internship on his resume, and probably never had to troubleshoot a network outage with a command prompt in safe mode. His laptop looked like it had been hand-delivered by the future, sleek, matte black, and humming like a cat about to pounce. He called it my baby by lunch. I called mine still breathing. When I joined this company 8 years ago, the building still smelled of fresh paint. I was part of the original IT infrastructure setup. From laying cable under the raised floors to configuring our first firewall box by hand, I've been part of every upgrade, every server migration, every caffeine-fueled overnight emergency fix. The laptop, it's a relic from the last major reorg. When they gutted our department budget, they told us to make do. So I did. I nursed this thing through 3 OS updates, replaced the fan myself with a knockoff part, and even resoldered the charging port once while watching a YouTube tutorial. I know it's old, I know it looks like hell, but it boots faster than half the newer models because I stripped all the fluff and optimized it to the bone. It's my wrench, my hammer, my toolkit. Corey didn't get that. The first week, he hovered around with the kind of buzz only people new to the workforce have, asking questions that weren't really questions, more like stage prompts to show off his knowledge. Why are we still running part of the backend on those hybrid clusters? Oh, you guys still monitor traffic logs manually. This internal tool you built, is that even scalable? I answered politely at first, even smiled when he called our VPN system quaint. I've mentored enough people to know the difference between curiosity and condescension. Corey was firmly in the second camp. On Friday, he brought in his mechanical keyboard from home, with RGB lighting, set to rainbow wave mode. Every time he typed, it sounded like a raccoon juggling marbles in a trash can. He caught me glancing once. "Gaterin Browns," he said proudly, "more responsive than the crap we get standard." I nodded, cool. Inside, I made a quiet note. If the server ever went down, I wasn't asking him to hot patch. The weekend came and went. I changed the oil in my truck, visited my dad at the care facility, and tried to ignore the dull ache that had settled into my shoulder blades from hunching too long at my desk. Monday morning, the office buzzed with the usual chaos. Marketing's printers were down again, HR couldn't connect to the shared drive, and someone in sales had reset their password 3 times and still couldn't log in. Routine. Then around 10:22 a.m., things got weird. First, the monitoring system pinged us, packet loss on one of the regional servers. Then another alert, latency spike, then another and another. Within 90 seconds, the entire East server farm dropped off the map. Corey laughed nervously. "What, did someone trip over a cable?" I didn't laugh. I clicked into the command shell, fingers flying over the battered keys. "Looks like the backup link isn't auto-failing over," I muttered. Corey leaned in. "Want me to remote in?" "No, you need root access." "I can get it." "Not fast enough." He stepped back, arms crossed. "All right, show me what the museum piece can do." It wasn't a challenge, not really, but it still stuck in my ribs like a splinter. Here's the thing about old machines, they don't waste time trying to look smart, they just do what they're told. No flashy dashboards, no floating tooltips, just code, command lines, raw data. I bypassed the GUI SSH directly into the backup node and started digging. Meanwhile, the VP of Ops was packing near our cubicles, barking updates to someone on speakerphone. Words like client access failure, financial risk, and emergency call floated through the air like smoke. Corey kept watching. He wasn't mocking me anymore. I pulled up the internal failover logs. Something wasn't right. The server wasn't just unresponsive, it had been manually overridden. "Did someone schedule maintenance?" I asked aloud. Corey shook his head, not that I saw. I called up the last set of commands run on the server. My stomach dropped. Corey, I said slowly, what were you doing on this node last night? He blinked. What? There's a script here, uploaded from your user ID. He went pale. No, I was just running a test environment clone. I didn't touch anything live. You clone production without sandboxing. My voice dropped, quiet and sharp. I thought I was on the staging node. The air went cold. It took 6 hours to stabilize the network. I restored the backup from a shadow snapshot I had made manually last week, because I don't trust our automation suite to catch edge case fails. Something you learn after one too many 3 a.m. fire drills. When the servers came back online, the office exhaled like it had been underwater. The VP didn't thank me, she rarely does, but she nodded once like someone acknowledging gravity after trying to fly. Corey avoided eye contact. I didn't rub it in. I just ran the final verification commands, closed the lid of my chipped laptop and said, still breathing. That night I stayed late, not because I had to, just to give Corey space to leave without facing me. He passed by on his way out, paused near my desk. Hey, he said, voice low, thanks for fixing it. I nodded without looking up, be more careful next time. He hesitated, is it always like this? Only on the fun days. The next morning, Corey showed up without his mechanical keyboard. He used the standard one. The coffee pot in the break room let out a sharp gurgle like it was choking on its own ambition. The air smelled burnt, acidic, someone had used the last of the grounds again and overfilled the filter. I poured half a cup anyway and leaned against the counter, waiting for the caffeine to claw its way through my fog. Across the office, Corey sat quietly at his desk. No flashy lights, no clicky keys, just him, a standard-issue keyboard, and a laptop with the corporate logo still peeling from the lid. For the first time since he joined the team, he looked normal, human. Not a whiz kid, not a know-it-all, just a guy who made a mistake and now had to sit in the crater it left behind. I wasn't angry, not anymore. I've seen worse, hell, I've caused worse, like the time I accidentally black-holed an entire subnet because I fat-fingered a routing table. That was in year 2 and I didn't sleep for 2 days straight. It happens. What matters is what you do after. Corey had shown up early that morning, earlier than anyone else except me and the janitor. He'd wiped down his desk, straightened his chair, and sat with his head down until the monitors came alive. He didn't say anything when I walked in. That was new. Around mid-morning, Anne from HR popped by with a cheerful knock on the cubicle wall. Morning, gentlemen, mind if I steal a minute? She was smiling, but there was weight behind her eyes. HR smiles always come with a footnote. Corey tensed like a dog, expecting a rolled-up newspaper. Sure, I said, what's up? She glanced at Corey, actually just him. He stood and followed her out of the bullpen like a school kid headed to the principal's office. I pretended to work while my ear tracked the hallway hush beyond the frosted glass doors. When he came back 20 minutes later, his face was unreadable. He sat down, hands in lap, didn't touch the keyboard. I waited. 5 minutes passed. Then he whispered, they wrote me up. I nodded slowly, that tracks. They said if anything like that happens again, I could be terminated. I didn't respond, not with sympathy, not with blame, just silence, the kind that invites you to sit with your own weight. After a moment he asked, would you have told them? I looked at him, really looked. No, I said. He blinked, why not? Because I've been you, I said, and someone once gave me the same grace. That afternoon he asked if we could review the staging protocols together. He brought a notepad, handwritten, even, no laptop, no posture, just humility. We spent 2 hours walking through our deployment flow, firewall rules, rollback procedures. I didn't dumb it down and he didn't try to impress me. He scribbled questions in the margins, circled things, asked for real-world examples. For the first time, he seemed hungry to understand, not to perform. I showed him the makeshift script I built for automated snapshotting, ugly, manual, duct-taped like my laptop, but reliable. You trust this more than the company's toolset? He asked. I nodded because I wrote it knowing exactly how this place fails. He smiled for the first time all day, not cocky, just grateful. By Thursday, something had shifted. He didn't jump into every conversation with a punchline or a correction. He sat back during team meetings, took notes, and only chimed in when asked. Even his coffee mug changed from a neon yellow hack the planet to a plain black ceramic one with a chip on the rim. I noticed I didn't say anything. That morning, our team lead, Rachel, assigned us a partner audit of the VPN logs. Routine stuff, but sensitive. We'd had some failed login pings that might have indicated a breach attempt. Corey glanced at me when the task landed on our table. "You trust me with this?" he asked. I nodded. "You'll learn more than I can teach by doing it." He didn't smile, just rolled up his sleeves and got to work. Around 3 p.m., something odd popped in the logs. A batch of failed access attempts from an IP not geofenced to our usual client zones. Almost a brute force pattern, spaced over hours. "Looks like someone was poking us from Amsterdam," Corey muttered. "Could be a proxy," I said. "Check the timestamp clusters." We dove in. He matched my pace, flagged every pattern like he was solving a puzzle instead of doing grunt work. For a second, I saw what the company must have seen when they hired him: fast brain, sharp instincts, but finally with a little friction under his feet. "This one's weird," he said. "Repeated attempts, same credentials, but spaced exactly 58 minutes apart." I leaned over. My stomach tightened. "That's an automated task," I said. "A bot misconfigured or something masking as one." He raised an eyebrow. "You think we've been compromised?" "Not yet," I said, "but someone's testing our doors." We flagged it to Rachel, who looped in security. No alarms yet, but we'd caught it early. Corey looked at me and whispered, "We might have saved the company a breach." I nodded, "Maybe." Then I pointed at my laptop. "And I did it with this old thing." He laughed. A real laugh this time. Friday morning, I found a box on my desk. Unmarked brown cardboard, no return address. I opened it slowly. Inside was a mechanical keyboard, high-end, custom keycaps, simple black with muted backlight, a note taped to the foam wrap. It read, "For the guy who types faster than fire spreads, see." I chuckled. I didn't plug it in, not yet. But I left it on the shelf above my monitor, where everyone could see it. Sometimes the loudest apologies are the quietest ones. That afternoon, we had a team sync in the war room. The big whiteboard was covered in flowcharts, incident protocols, mitigation proposals. Rachel was laying out the plan for upgrading our cloud transition when the lights flickered. Then the screen behind her, projecting the active server map, blinked red. 3 zones offline. Then 5. Then the core server node started reporting critical. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Corey's screen lit up too. We locked eyes. And this time neither of us smiled. He leaned in close. "Is this another test environment?" I shook my head. "No, this is the real thing." We scrambled into position, fingers flew, commands ran. The air buzzed with urgency. Rachel barked updates, the phone lines lit up, and the digital heartbeat of the company began to stutter. Corey whispered, "Please don't be the database." But we both knew it was. My fingers hesitated above my laptop keyboard. Then I started typing. Slow, precise. No panic, no shortcuts. The room faded, the chaos around me dulled. It was just me and the machine. I knew better than some people know their own thoughts. The smell hit first, burnt plastic, faint but sharp, wafting from the back corner of the server room. Then the hum, or rather the absence of it. You don't realize how much background noise the server racks make until it vanishes, like someone sucked the electricity out of the air. What remained was a thick silence, punctuated by the frantic clicks of keyboards and the buzz of panicked conversation in the war room. Corey and I stood shoulder to shoulder, eyes glued to our screens. 5 server zones were still down, and the 6th, the core database, was now blinking yellow. Not red, not yet, but close. Too damn close. "You've gotta be kidding me," Corey muttered. "How the hell is this happening again?" "It's not the same issue," I said, scanning the logs. "This isn't human error, not this time." "Then what?" I didn't answer. I didn't know yet. What I did know was that the core database was under attack, slow and steady, like a dripping faucet aimed at the foundation. The log files were bloated. Access queues were flooding. Services dependent on that node were already beginning to time out. Rachel burst into the war room. What's the damage? I turned to her. If we don't isolate the core within 10 minutes, we're going to lose data. Corey added, I think it's a malformed injection, deliberate, masked as a normal update ping. Are you saying this is sabotage? She asked. I'm saying, I said carefully, someone out there knows our exact sync schedule and our failover delay buffer. She swore under her breath and turned to the window, where execs were packing outside with phones to their ears like angry ghosts. Okay, lock it down, you two, cut access, shut off all incoming traffic to the core. But that's going to take down the CRM, the finance dashboards, everything, Corey said. Rachel hesitated. Do it. We moved. The funny thing about chaos is that it doesn't feel like a storm when you're inside it. It feels like repetition. Commands, code, checksums, pings, confirmations. I tunneled in with my relic of a laptop. It didn't choke, it didn't lag, it just obeyed. Corey kept pace beside me, running interference on the alert triggers, updating firewall rules. I tossed him a look. Backup's going to fail if the data's mid-sync. He nodded. I'll hold the packet stream. You snapshot and kill the bridge. I paused. You sure? Yeah, his voice was steady. I owe you one, remember. We moved like we'd done this for years, like partners, like people who understood the cost of failure. 5 minutes later, the core was isolated, traffic died, logs stopped scrolling, the server map turned black. Silence. But this time, it was the right kind of silence. When we came up for air, the room was full of execs, managers, and the cybersecurity lead, an ex-military guy named Jeff who always looked like he was deciding whether to bark orders or call in a drone strike. He didn't waste time. Which one of you caught it? We both looked at each other. Joint effort, I said. Corey nodded. Jeff didn't care. You saved us from a breach, internal or external, we'll find out, but you two just bought this company time it didn't deserve. He walked out as quickly as he came in. Rachel stayed behind. Her eyes were softer now. Nice work, both of you. Then she turned to Corey, especially you. His face froze for a moment. Wait, me. You flagged the pattern, connected it to the update pings. You made the call to isolate. He looked stunned, but I only knew what to look for because of him. He gestured at me. Rachel smiled. Then I'll say it again. Nice work, both of you. She left. We sat there in silence. Corey exhaled slow and deep. That was intense. I chuckled. That was a Tuesday. Over the next few days, word got around. Not in an official announcement way, more like whispers, little comments in the elevator, pats on the back in the break room. One engineer from DevOps stopped me in the hall. Hey, I heard what happened. That was badass. A project manager brought Corey a muffin with a sticky note that said Server Slayer. He turned beet red. I just grinned. That Friday, we were summoned to a closed-door meeting. Conference room 7C, the fancy one with the big monitor and the fancy chairs no one ever quite feels comfortable in. Rachel was there, so was Jeff from cybersecurity, and to our surprise, a leaner VP of infrastructure. She wore her usual expression, unreadable, polished nails, blazer sharper than a scalpel. I'll get to the point, she said. What you two did this week averted a full-scale data breach. Had it gone another 10 minutes, we would have lost client trust, contracts, maybe even compliance status. Corey shifted uncomfortably. I stayed still. Alina continued, we're forming a new task force, internal security audits, real-time threat response, no red tape. She looked at me. I want you to lead it. I blinked. Then I said the only thing I could. Why me? You've been the backbone of this infrastructure for years, she said. You know every bolt and bracket, and now you've proven you can adapt, lead under pressure. She turned to Corey, and I want you as his second. Corey's eyes widened. Me. You've got instincts, you're raw, but you learn fast, and you didn't let ego get in the way of listening. That's rare. We sat in stunned silence. Alina tapped a folder on the table. It's a lateral move, new titles, better compensation, higher clearance. She stood, think about it over the weekend, let Rachel know Monday. We left the room like people who had just walked out of a different life. In the hallway, Corey turned to me. You really think I can do this? I nodded, not alone, but with someone who has your back, yeah. He paused. Would you have taken this offer a month ago? I smirked. A month ago, you were just the guy who mocked my laptop. He winced. I was such a jackass. You weren't the first, you won't be the last. Still, he said, that laptop, it's a beast. I laughed. Don't let her hear you say that, she's temperamental. That night I stayed late again. No chaos, just me, the server logs, and the gentle hum of a data center catching its breath. I looked at the keyboard Corey gave me. Then I looked at my old one. I unplugged the new one. Reverence maybe, or superstition, or just muscle memory. Either way, I wasn't ready to let go just yet. The security badge scanner beeped twice when I swiped in Monday morning, like it needed a second to decide whether I still belonged. The door unlocked with a slow click. I stepped into a building that suddenly felt different, even though nothing had physically changed. Same flickering light above the HR cubicles. Same vending machine that still $8 and only gave chips half the time. But something in the air was cleaner. Sharper. More alert. Maybe that was me. When I got to my desk, Corey was already there. He had 2 coffees on the table, one black, one his usual with almond milk and that weird mushroom powder he swore helped with mental clarity. He nodded toward the plain cup. Peace offering. I sat, took a sip. Hot, bitter, perfect. You accept the offer, he asked. I raised an eyebrow. You. He gave a sheepish grin. Rachel already had the forms in my inbox this morning, signed and sent. I leaned back in my chair. You realize what this means, right? That I get to have meetings with you while pretending to understand half the things you're saying. That we're going to be the team people call when everything goes to hell. He took a long sip of his mushroom latte. Sounds familiar. We got our new workspace that afternoon. No more cubicles. They gave us a converted conference room near the back of the building, glass walls, 2 standing desks, a long whiteboard, and enough monitors to make a hedge fund jealous. Corey looked around like a kid on Christmas morning. This is ours. Apparently, I said, setting my laptop on the corner desk. It looked hilariously out of place next to the brand new hardware. He gave it a pat. You should retire her, let her go out on a high note. I smiled. Not yet. The first week in our new roles was mostly cleanup. We went over every major internal system, from our remote login architecture to the obscure little scripts IT interns had written years ago and no one had ever touched since. Some of the code was elegant. Some of it was duct-taped spaghetti logic held together by desperation and hope. But it was ours now. Our job to understand it, patch it, protect it. Corey took the lead on analyzing user permission drift. I focused on building a new dashboard for real-time threat monitoring, not the flashy kind with animated graphs, but something lean, efficient, and brutal in its accuracy. By Thursday, we had our first real fire drill. Someone in finance downloaded a phishing attachment. Their machine was pinging outbound to a known malware domain. We isolated it in 6 minutes. 2 months ago, it would have taken the company 2 hours and a prayer. That Friday, Alina called us back to 7C. She was already seated when we arrived, phone in hand, reviewing something. She motioned for us to sit. We've been reviewing the breach from 2 weeks ago, she said. The deeper we dig, the more troubling it gets. Corey straightened. How bad? It wasn't just a malformed packet. Someone had elevated access credentials. They weren't just probing, they were inside. My stomach dropped. How? Still investigating, but the trail leads to a contractor who left 6 months ago. Their account should have been purged, was marked as inactive, but never deprovisioned. Corey shook his head. That's on the old IAM system. Alina nodded. Exactly, which is why I'm glad we're cleaning house. She slid a folder toward us. We're bringing in outside consultants for a full audit, but for now, I want you two to finish what you started. I want a full security map, every script, every access log, every orphaned credential. I want to know every door in this house, even the ones we think are locked. I looked at Corey, he looked back. We nodded. The next few weeks blurred. Our world shrank to lines of code, network diagrams, user logs. We ate at our desks, laughed at midnight over forgotten functions and incomprehensible database schemas. We found scripts that hadn't been touched in 7 years. One even still referenced a coworker who'd been fired for printing his resume on the company copier. But it wasn't just the systems we learned. We learned each other. His mom was a public school teacher. His dad fixed antique radios. He once spent a summer in Spain just learning how to cook. His dream was to open a tiny cybersecurity cafe one day, good coffee and safer internet for everyone. He learned that I used to play jazz piano before my hands got too stiff, that my dad used to run a hardware store and taught me to fix anything with a roll of tape and the right curse word. That my laptop wasn't just old, it was inherited, a relic from a mentor who taught me everything and passed it down when he left. "She's sentimental," I said one night, closing the lid gently. "That's why I can't retire her yet." Corey didn't laugh. He just nodded. "Makes sense." One night, a little after 10, Corey was still typing away when the power blinked. Just a flicker, but enough to freeze our monitors. Emergency backup kicked in almost instantly. The server room remained steady, but the lights in our space went out. We sat in the sudden darkness, surrounded by blinking LEDs and the low hum of fans. "Power grid overloaded again," I muttered. "Building's ancient." Corey sat back. "Wanna call it 10 more minutes?" He nodded. Then, after a moment, said, "I used to think I was better than all this." I looked over. "Then what?" "This job, this office, this team. I thought I was gonna change the world with some new app or startup." He leaned forward, elbows on the desk, face lit only by the glow of his secondary monitor. "But this, protecting something real, building something stable, that matters more than I thought it would." I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "The world doesn't need another food delivery app. It needs someone who keeps the servers from catching fire while people sleep." He smiled. "Yeah." The power came back on. The lights flickered, then steadied. We got back to work. But the silence between us wasn't the uncomfortable kind anymore. It was the kind that comes when two people know they're doing something that matters. When there's mutual respect. Earned, not assumed. On Monday, a leaner dropped by our space. No meeting. No warning. Just stood in the doorway, watching us for a moment. Then she said, "I've got one more thing for you too." She pulled a small package from her bag. Wrapped in matte black paper, thin, sleek. She handed it to me. "What is it?" I asked. "Company upgrade." I opened it. Inside was a brand new laptop, top of the line, faster than anything I'd ever touched, custom engraved with my initials. Corey leaned over. "Whoa, that's insane." But my eyes drifted to my old one, sitting peacefully on its perch. Alina noticed. "You don't have to use it," she said, "just thought you earned it." I nodded, closing the lid of the new machine gently. Then I smiled. "Maybe I'll let her rest." Corey clapped. The moment felt right. But we both knew the story wasn't quite over. Not yet. 2 weeks after I got the new laptop, I still hadn't booted it up. It sat on the desk like a sealed promise, sleek, quiet, untouchable. The brushed aluminum case had my initials laser etched in the corner, JT, like it belonged to someone more modern, more polished than me. But my old laptop. She was finally starting to hiccup. The screen flickered once during a packet filter test. The fan gave a high-pitched whine when I spun up multiple VMs. She was still breathing, but you could hear the wheeze. I knew it was time. I spent a whole Saturday night alone in the office, backing everything up. Not just work files, but scripts I'd tweaked and tuned for years. Config templates I wrote from scratch, even a few archived notes from my old mentor, the one who first handed me this beat-up machine and said, "It's not about how shiny it looks, it's about what it survives." When the last file was safely transferred, I closed the lid one final time. The rubber pad underneath had long since peeled off. I set it down inside a drawer and didn't lock it. Not everything needs to be buried. Monday morning, I powered up the new machine. Fast, silent, responsive. No resistance, no quirks. And yet, for the first 30 minutes, I kept reaching for keys that weren't sticky. Pausing at command prompts I used to autocomplete by instinct. I missed the whine, the clack, the quiet fight. But I got used to it. By noon, it was just another tool. By evening, I'd made it mine. The security audit project was almost finished. Corey and I had mapped over 240 systems, eliminated 17 shadow admin accounts, and patched vulnerabilities no one even knew existed. We built a live threat monitor that could flag anomalies in milliseconds, way beyond what the old detection suite could dream of. It became something the whole company leaned on. Even execs started checking our dashboard before meetings. Corey joked once, "We're the fire alarm nobody wanted," until the kitchen filled with smoke. I like that. Then came the quarterly all-hands. Rachel warned us ahead of time, "Elena wants to spotlight the audit team, don't freak out." We wore the same clothes we always did, button-downs, jeans. Corey swapped his hoodie for something with buttons but still had mismatched socks. The auditorium was full, lights dimmed. Elena walked up to the podium and launched into the usual update, the revenue charts, the client wins, the recruitment numbers. Then she paused. "I want to take a moment to highlight something invisible." People shifted in their seats. "Invisible," she repeated, "because when security works, you don't notice it. When infrastructure holds, no one celebrates, you just go about your day." She looked toward us. "But what you don't see is the team that caught a breach before it became a headline. The team that fixed a legacy system older than some of our interns. The team that rebuilt our defenses from the inside out." Her voice didn't rise, it didn't need to. Two people changed the direction of this company, one by never backing down from an old machine, the other by learning how to listen. Together, they turned survival into strategy. People clapped. Not politely. Loud, sustained. I didn't stand, neither did Corey. We just looked at each other, trying not to grin like idiots. After the meeting, people came up to shake our hands. Some asked questions, some just nodded. Corey looked shell-shocked. "Did that just happen?" he whispered. I nodded, "Yeah." Then from behind us, a voice said, "Nice laptop." We turned, it was one of the interns, barely 20, huge grin. "Wait, is that the custom one they gave you?" he asked. "Looks incredible." I nodded again slowly. Then smiled. "Yeah," I said, "but the real legend in the drawer." He tilted his head. And Corey just laughed. A few weeks later, something small happened that hit me harder than any promotion ever could. I was walking past Corey's desk when I noticed something on his screen. He was pulling up the old patch script I wrote, a hacked-together snapshot tool from years ago. "Didn't you already replace that?" I asked. He turned the monitor slightly toward me. "Yeah, but I like this one, it's ugly, reliable, and it works." He paused. "Besides, it reminds me of where I started." Things kept moving forward. We onboarded new hires, some sharp, some still green. Corey took the lead training them. I watched him explain subnet segmentation to a fresh grad using half a whiteboard and a pizza box diagram. It was messy. It was brilliant. He even started building his own tools, minimalist but elegant. I ran them through their paces, tweaked the ones that needed tweaking. But I didn't correct him like I used to. He didn't need it. The day Corey got his own direct report, he brought in donuts. Real ones, not the stale grocery store kind, fresh baked, still warm. He handed me one and said, "You think the new guy gonna laugh at my laptop?" I looked down. His machine had stickers all over it now. One said Legacy Tech Gang. Another was a faded cartoon of a raccoon holding a wrench. I smiled. "No," I said, "but if he does." Corey leaned in. "He'll learn." Sometimes, late at night, when the building's quiet and the logs are still, I pull the drawer open. Run my fingers along the chipped edge of the old laptop. Not because I need to. Just to remember what it feels like to survive something that tries to break you. To be underestimated. To hold the key no one else knows still fits the lock. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.